Did you know that 1 million plastic bottles are bought around the world nearly every minute? Or that the average person eats 70,000 microplastics in a year? Or that in 50 years, the global plastic production has nearly doubled? This is crazy information to be hearing. The plastic production in this world is one of the main problems right now that we're facing. Plastic has led to many problems such as global warming due to the fuel emissions let off by the production. Everyone is to blame here. Single-use plastics are not only easy to purchase and obtain, they are disposable after one use, which makes it very easy for the everyday consumer. Everyone's a part of the problem. Everyone uses single-use plastics. You need to think about your own actions and think about using alternatives and recycling. It's not just your future, it's your kids' and grandkids' future that you need to be thinking about. Now you might be thinking, why plastic, or what's wrong with plastic? Well, it becomes an issue when we're producing and discarding nearly 360 million tons a year. And around 80% of this ends in the ocean. While plastic goes to landfills and processing plants to get broken down, it never fully biodegrades, and so microplastics end up in the ocean, as well as full bottles and full plastic items. Around 4% of world oil production is used to make plastics, and a similar amount is consumed as energy in the process. This means that around 4% of the whole world's oil production is used solely to make plastic. That's insane. This comes from the UN Environmental Program website. Not only oil consumption, but fuel emissions polluting the air due to plastic production is also harming the environment. If we keep this up, the world might not make it. Moving on to microplastics. The term microplastics and microlitter has been defined differently by various researchers. Gregory and Andrade defined microplastics as barely visible particles that pass through a 500 micrometer sieve, according to Anthony Andrade of the Marine Pollution Bulletin. Microplastics end up in the food chain very easily. Since they are so small and undetected often, animals consume them, producing waste, and then that is consumed as well as the full animal is consumed by other animals, and this is how it enters the food chain, eventually entering our food chain when we eat these animals that has consumed these microplastics. As I said, each human consumes as almost 70,000 microplastics per year. That is a large amount. In my presentation, I included a picture of microplastics for comparison, so you can see the size. So, something else to consider is bans, single-use plastic bans. This has been done in many countries already, one being China. China has a ban on importing recycled film plastic, which is the plastic bags that we use at the grocery store. So, placing these bans like China has done is very, very beneficial. It drastically decreases the number of single-use plastics that are floating around and that people use and discard. Imposing bans on single-use plastics like microbeads and or plastic bags is part of strategies being implemented in countries such as Canada. I think that the United States needs to implement strategies like this as well. This information comes from Tony Walker from the School for Environmental Studies. The next thing is personal responsibility. When it comes to the plastic war, it is about the consumer's responsibility almost as much as it is the producer's. It's your responsibility to think about your actions and think about the products that you are consuming and discarding. One option is to use alternatives to plastic. In my slides, I have included a slide that shows plastic alternatives that can easily be put into place to cut down the number of plastics. Another thing you can do is when you go to the store, and if you only have a couple items, just simply say, I don't need a bag, and carry them out in your hands. Another easy thing is simply recycling. If we all started to recycle, That would drastically cut down the number of plastics that enter the landfills and eventually the ocean. In conclusion, plastic may be convenient, but is a huge problem. Please think about the future and do your part for your kids, your grandkids, and many of generations to come that will inhabit this earth.